So here is Cappy at Barnstaple, and this is another schooling show, and we are in the Novice division. He's been coming along pretty nicely, and you can see Florida has been pretty good with the rain and the grass growing, so there's a little bit of grass in the ring, but it's still really nice footing. And he was funny because he was super good in his warm-up. I kept it short and sweet, and then kind of right before I went in, he got a little bit emotional. So this first kind of beginning of the test, I'm still working through a little bit of his emotions. But he picks up a really nice canter transition. And every now and then you'll see like he doesn't want to bend through his rib cage. And he kind of pops his shoulders one way or the other. So that's just how he displays his tension. But I'm able to get him to kind of come through and in the canter for a canter circle. And then down into the trot transition. That was pretty good. And again, I'm trying to get him to work into the corners, but I can't really ask for too much of that just because he's a little bit on the fragile side. Now going for our extended walk. You know, just kind of being a little inconsistent in our stretch. But we are walking, so that is good. And he's feeling good. I can, have my legs wrapped around him. I don't feel like he's going to explode or anything. We're just directing, and he's getting better and better as this test is going. And then working into the transition to trot. And you'll see I'm still in a jump saddle for him. He tends to go a little bit better in this for right now. So that's kind of where we're at. And you're allowed to use a jumping saddle. You don't have to have a dressage saddle. As long as it meets the requirements for an English saddle, you're good to go. So that second transition was good. And he has such a lovely canter. It's probably one of his best gaits. Very nice and uphill. And I've just been working really hard on the suppleness through his rib cage. And now our last kind of bigger movement is the stretchy trot. And he gives me some nice moments. That's pretty good for him. He didn't really speed up. A little inconsistent in the stretch, but it's there. And then he came right back, and then he actually went into that corner really nicely. And now we have to do a half 10-meter circle to the center line. And coming into our final halt. And I was actually really pleased how he scurried up for our final halt. Did really well. So super happy with him with this test. He ended up scoring a 34.1, I believe. So I was actually really happy with his progress and how he's starting to mature. Now moving on to show jump. He's such a funny fellow. So I worked actually pretty hard in my warm-up to make sure I stayed away from, our friends over there. So he wouldn't be so herd bound. And we had that one little moment where when we started, he went completely sideways. He wasn't spooking to anything. He just was kind of arguing a little bit. But you see, I just stayed patient. And I just kept my focus on the first jump. And then he seemed to settle in really well. Coming to this one, he just kind of ticked it with the hind end there. And I'm just working on his balance a little bit. As these they feel pretty small for him. So just trying to keep his attention and keep the balance to where he can step over it. He's quite a nice horse and very athletic in this jump. And I'm actually quite happy with how he's settled in, as we've had to make a couple of turns down by, the other horses, and he hasn't offered any of his Cappiness. Then coming into the final fence, kind of a little bit of an awkward spot. He trots, but then we still make the distance pretty good. So overall, really pleased. Just the one rail, but that's really no biggie in this. That was a really good boy, and we're getting better and better with his emotional coping skills. So really pleased with them. Then moving on to cross country, and he was feeling very keen, very forward, which was nice. And I wanted to work on having him go forward to the fences, but again, making sure I have him in that balance. But then also coming to the next fence, which is a jump right before the water, I had to come in a little slower because he does still worry about water, but you can see he was a good, brave boy, and he jumped in and then broke to the trot. That was actually a tough question for Novice there, with kind of that coming out of the water a little bit on an angle to the little log. But I was really pleased with how he read it. He wanted to slow down to the trot, and I let him. And I think it was really important to kind of let them figure out their feet at this stage. And then here he gets just a little keen and casual. Jump was a little small for him. But it was actually really fun where we played with terrain through those mounds, and there was a pretty scary shark's tooth up top, and he was a good boy. And then we go in, jump down a bank that you can't see to a little bit of a faux corner there. And now coming around near the end of the end of the course, and we've gone at a fair clip for Novice. So you'll see me, I'm slowing down a lot because we have what's called an optimum time. And then we also don't want to go too fast. So you'll see me slow down, trying to keep the canter. There is such thing as a willful delay, where if we slow down to like a trot right before the finish flag, so you can get a penalty for that. But I just make sure I stay a little far out in my line. You'll see Timothy kind of lost me there in the frame. And just cruise on home to the final fence. And he was really good. Really pleased with that. Felt really confident. And we finished up 5th in this little nice schooling show. So really, really happy with our experience and our day there at Barnstaple.